What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to today's Q&A. As promised, I will be delivering monthly Q&As with myself and Joe, my video man slash assistant slash the man of many wonderful things. So I'm very much looking forward to it because last Q&A, I did get some amazing questions. So I appreciate you all. And as always, if you want your questions answered, please comment below in the video. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, support myself, the channel, and Joe, and show some love. Now, without further ado, let's get stuck into Q&A. Joe, what have you got for me?
Is there a difference between the calorie / macro intake of an enhanced athlete compared to a natural athlete, or does it not make a difference?
It depends. A natural athlete, depending on the genetic makeup, they will simply need to eat less. I would argue with some natural athletes, you may need to actually feed them a little bit more fats for function and for hormone health. But again, how much? It's not really that much different. The biggest difference is when you are assisted, your metabolic rate actually increases. So your metabolism will be directly affected by performance enhancing drugs. So one thing you'll notice, a lot of people that even go on TRT, they will recomp almost instantly, but eating the same calories, right? So it does play a role. The calorie needs will differ massively because one, assistance comes into play, but secondly, the more muscle you carry, the more calories you will actually need to either grow or even retain the muscle tissue. When it comes to macro breakdown, some people that argue that because you are taking performance enhancing drugs, you actually need less protein because your body's more efficient at utilizing protein. I don't quite believe that. I think protein needs for trained individuals remain the same. It's just more so, I would probably push the fats a little bit higher with naturals versus assisted guys. And that goes for males and females.
So the next question is can you do a video on salt / sodium intake? But I think you can probably answer that in a question. And also paired with that, it says, if you can still fast to reduce inflammation and clean up zombie cells while you're in a bulking phase.
You fast pretty much every day whilst you sleep. So any extra fasting apart from that doesn't serve any benefits. And in my opinion, I don't need fasting to clear out anything because one, my diet actually hits all my macronutrient needs. And the misconception is that you don't need food, that you shouldn't eat to see somewhat of a clear out. But it's like your body's very efficient at detoxing itself. Like, there's nothing you can do to detox your body. Your body takes care of that, especially your kidneys actually flush out all the shit out of you. Basically, that's the job. So, in my opinion, fasting is pretty useless. You fast when you're asleep, and that's pretty much the only time you should fast if you are trying to actively gain muscle tissue. I have never seen any guy or girl gain a substantial amount of muscle tissue regularly fasting. And if you need to fast and you are experiencing digestive health, I would probably address your nutrition or the setup because something is there. Something that you are doing is impacting your gut health to a degree where you are having issues. So rather than trying to put a band-aid on it, actually fix the issue through assessing what you need to actually do to keep you and maintain the digestive health. I've just trained with Matt, one of my clients, who's eating 6,500 calories. No bloating, no digestive issues, appetite's still great, food's going down super easy. How? Whole food sources, no processed food, and slowly building up the calories and maintaining good insensitivity and good condition. That's the key. Food choices and food sources play a huge role.
And on the topic of salt and sodium intake?
So salt and sodium intake, I give you like a bulletproof guide, right? 1 gram of salt per 1 litre of water. So if you're drinking 6 litres of water, 6 grams of salt per day. That should be more than adequate. And realistically, you are going to be getting some sodium and potassium from your foods, especially a lot of veggie sources. You will be getting plenty of potassium and fruit. So, I think 6 gram is more than enough for most people. People that sweat more might need more. But again, I think sodium is very much overthought, right? You don't need a ton of electrolytes, just literally use salt and water.
I think as well on that point, a lot of the normal population demonize salt.
Yeah, they do.
And I think it's so crucial to daily function.
100%. It's an essential mineral. And the thing is, they demonize salt because they think salt is bad, but it's like, salt isn't bad. What you're eating alongside of that salt is bad.
Yeah, and the fact that they're drinking a litre of water a day max.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well. Yeah.
Next question is, what are your thoughts on jogging as a mode of cardio off-season and on prep? does it kill your gains?
Yes, it does. It's probably the worst thing you can do. Quite literally is. Have you ever seen anyone that jogs with well-developed legs or glutes? No. Like, it's just literally, it's so counterintuitive. If you want to do cardio, either low impact steady state cardio, so power walk, or short bouts of high intensity work that are going to be most beneficial. I think something like jogging is not only it's going to impact your recovery so much, but your lower body's just going to become dead and flaccid. So that's the last thing you want to do. I see a lot of females use it as a form of cardio, right? And it's probably the worst thing you can do, especially when they're trying to grow muscle. Like, as a female, it's already hard enough to build muscle, right? So why would you do something else on top that will further impair that? Just makes no sense.
Next question is a really interesting and good one. It is, what is something enhanced athletes can apply in their protocols that is common for natural athletes?
Consistency and patience. The natural athletes that I work with are not really afraid of really having a longer prep, which results in much better outcomes when it comes to actually reaching true contest condition, but also retaining the muscle. It's like a conversation I had with a client the other day. It's like, I have natural athletes who are able to still progress the lifts throughout the first portion of the prep, and their ability to hold muscle tissue is there because they're so patient with the approach. So I think the biggest thing that I have learned from working with natural athletes and natural crowd in general is creating timelines that are a little bit longer when it comes to off season and when it comes to prep, and then staying a lot more patient and disciplined. I mean, when you have to work so hard to gain that 1% of muscle improvements for a natural athlete, if you can apply that level of focus and that level of intensity, intent, when you are assisted, that is when huge progress comes. And this is why I often say to people, if you can compete naturally first, it's possibly the best thing you can do for your long-term progress if you are ever to take that leap. And before you take that leap as well, you need to really consider that potentially it's a step that you take for life. So whenever possible, when people ask me, I always try and put them off, because unless you are prepared to do this for the rest of your life, don't do it at all. It's not a decision that should be taken lightly, and I think a lot of people should not do it because they're just not consistent enough, and they haven't really ticked the boxes as well as they potentially could, or exhausted what they could as a natural, if that makes sense. At least compete as a natural, you know.
How important is step count in both a prep and an off-season?
I think it's very important, especially in off-season. It's very easy to get lazy. If you want to feel energetic, you need to create the need for that. The only time where I felt more lethargic is when I actually failed to uphold a healthy step count. And a healthy step count for anyone in general will range from 7 to 10,000 per day. And I mean, if you're just a lifestyle bodybuilder, so to speak, you should be hitting a minimum of 10,000 steps per day. And that will keep you nice and healthy. It will keep your digestion on point, but it will also keep you active and keep you mobile to a degree. So there's only benefits to be had from having a set step count year round. And then obviously step count in a prep, it's very low impact, and it does allow you to have better recovery for your training performance, which is crucial part of the process when it comes down to dieting down and retaining your muscle tissue.
This is an interesting one. Do you think that being an online coach can be as successful as in person seeing somebody physically and, you know, programming their training, etc., and seeing them in real life?
It depends how you coach. So the way I coach, I have my clients send me over phone clips. I have my clients keep a full open line of communication. I look at the logbook. I look at pretty much everything. So if anything, as an online coach, I probably pay attention to more details than a coach would in person. However, I have coached people in person as well. And I think there is massive merit actually being able to coach someone in person and train them in person before you take that step with coaching. And the people that I see most successful at coaching have done some sort of coaching in past in person. I give Meg, for example, right? She was a teacher so Meg was a teacher for a few years. Then she worked a corporate job in bank, dealing with like crazy high paid customers. And then she moved on to coaching. So if you can have a job that somewhat relates to having that service in place, I think it'll definitely make a better coach. But in my opinion, it just all depends on how you coach. If you're an online coach that covers all bases and takes care of the training, the lifestyle, the nutrition, everything else, you're probably going to do a better job online because you get the ability to see everything from outside in, if that's the type of coach that you are.
I think a lot of old school bodybuilders like think, oh, online coach this, like they
don't understand. They don't understand.
But they also don't understand that you can't be in Malaysia, like fly over, check in with somebody, fly. Yeah. That just for you, it's so easy to, not easy, but so much more accessible for clients to be able to do it with you rather than going to their PT in their local gym, which isn't as knowledgeable. So
absolutely. And the thing is, people just don't understand the depth that we actually go into of online coaching these days.
Hello from Brazil.
Amazing.
How do you approach training volume and sets? Are they all driven to failure?
Mechanical failure, yes. And there's a big difference between people training to failure and past failure. True failure for me is when I cannot complete another rep without a form and execution breaking down. Where this differs is people will train to a point where they cannot physically complete another rep, then they will change their execution and continue getting 3, 4, 5 more reps with sloppy form. That's 3, 4, 5 reps past failure. And if you're training in that fashion, that's all good and well, that's fine. However, if you are training in that fashion, your actual training volume will need to be much lower. Now, I would argue that taking these reps is somewhat counterproductive as well, because instead of taking these reps, you could just end your set with quality reps only and just do another set that's a quality set instead. So it just depends. My favorite approach is keeping the execution as tight as you can. Try not to break down your form just to simply get more reps. Don't get me wrong, some sets, depending on the exercise, especially if it's more of an isolation exercise, you can afford for a little bit of a breakdown in maybe one last rep or 2. But again, these are the reps that I would generally not log in my logbook, because if I log these kind of reps, how am I going to progress that in 5 to 6 days' time? That's when people start to just chase load for sake of chasing load, and they just say, logbook doesn't work because it's forcing me to just chase. It's not that it doesn't work, you're just not patient enough with the loading progressions. I know it's a bit of a roundabout answer, but I just needed to cover all the details right.
Will UltraFlex Rotherham ever become 24/7?
Oh, God. Potentially. Might have to look into it, we'll see. I mean, we're open 5 till 11 now, so come on. It's plenty of hours, right?
When doing daily intramuscular injections to mitigate sides, what is your full site rotation? And what needles do you use?
Oh, God. So if I was assisted, I would definitely rotate through as many sites as possible. So I would rotate through lats, traps, rear delts. I don't like doing the glutes because I definitely think that a lot of people that do glutes just look terrible on stage. So avoid doing the glutes, try and rotate through as many sites as you physically can. Do not go into one area after another. I do think that the 29 gauge, 1 inch, I think orange pin, I think they're probably the best ones. But again, there's a website that people can use, which is called spotinjections.com, if they want to look at all different sites that they can use for injecting. But again, please be careful. Please make sure that you use proper injection practice. Look it up on NHS website. Make sure that you swab, make sure you clean, make sure you do not hurt yourself, and make sure you do not cause any issues so that then you go into hospital and then waste people's time, when you could avoid it. So just please be sensible and try not to get yourself in trouble through just improper practice, if that makes sense.
I think on that, if you are wanting to be a shredded behemoth on stage, you probably want to do your more less striated areas when you lean.
Absolutely.
So like you said, you read out slats, traps, etc. If you start doing your glutes and then it comes to stage time and you haven't got any, you've wasted your prep.
Yeah. And it looks terrible, like lumps in your, especially when people just put it in one area all the time. That's people get abscesses and lumps and bumps, so just want to avoid that at all costs.
This is another one in relation to it. Is there much difference in terms of hormonal balance and potential results from pinning bi-weekly or microdosing 7 days a week?
Absolutely, massive difference. Microdosing, not only you get less peaks and valleys, your hormone levels are more sustained, so you get a much better hormone profile from whatever you're utilizing. You get less side effects and less volume of injections as well. So any top-end TRT clinics now that prescribe people TRT will often tell them to microdose daily, and they actually do sub-Q injections for them. They actually tell them to do sub-Q injections themselves, but it's generally daily administration, which then leads to less conversion to estrogen as well, which is amazing. So that is a big spider, Jesus Christ. That is juicy.
Holy smokes, it's rapid as well.
Wow. Yeah, Joe's just nearly climbed him.
And that is fortunately the last question.
Yeah, on that bombshell, guys, we're going to leave before the big spider eats Joe because it's massive. Guys, thank you so much for the questions. I absolutely love doing these. So, guys, look, if you want your questions answered, whatever goes, I will answer them. Please comment below, and please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Show us some love, like the video. I'll see you again soon. Thank you, guys, and peace out.
And take care for now.
Take care for now. You know it, Joe.